Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it. It's Thursday night, September the 11th, 2025, 24 years following 9/11. The show will be starting at the top of the hour at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. But I'm going to play this video as a prelude, as a setup to illustrate what comes next. And so I'd like to add this to the stage and begin. And then at the top of the hour, the show itself will start.
I don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
One marked state trooper vehicle, 2 black SUVs. There's 3 state trooper vehicles escorted 4 Antifa shuttle buses right here front center. There was actually 5 vehicles total. There was 3 up front, 2 in the back. They escorted right here, waited for them to get off their buses, and they had the state troopers unloaded and took their positions. Watch. There's that guy. He had his lights on. They were coming, and then there's the ones up front too. They escorted, and each one of those buses are labeled. They're all paid charter buses.
Look at that, bro.
Check this out. Watch. Here's the black SUVs up front. And let's wait till you see who leads it.
Wow. They freaking brought damn Antifa here.
They escorted them here.
You've got to be.
Lights flashing.
You've got to be effing kidding me.
Lights flashing.
Patriots, are you guys watching this? You guys share this video, please. You've got to be kidding me. On video.
I watched them do it.
Hell no, bro.
And they just breached the Capitol again.
Where we've seen them engage with law enforcement. There's been a clash with law enforcement with Trump supporters. We've seen the doors are open to the Capitol now. Every few minutes or so, we see a fog come out of that door as well. Crowd will move just a little bit, but not deterring the group. You can see they're still in the doorway here where they've been since they were able to get that open. And you can hear the security alarm. It's been going on the entire time as well. But again, still large crowd right outside of that door. Haven't seen fog. In about a minute or so, we've seen officers deploy sprays and fog against the Trump supporters that are up in that area. And again, I'm looking up at the balcony now too, and there's some younger kids up there as well that with their parents, they've climbed up the ropes, and now we have more people climbing up the side, attempting to climb up the side of the building as well. You can hear Trump supporters chanting something now. Can't tell exactly what it is. We'll listen in for just a second. You can see people now climbing up the side of the Capitol balcony, trying to get up there. You can see grabbing.
So let's stop. Who are they? Are they Trump supporters? Or are they Antifa? Those aren't the questions we're going to be asking tonight. I hope to illustrate how we got here with that and mostly discuss the passing of Charlie Kirk, born in 1993 and assassinated in a political assassination just yesterday on September 10th. The question is, we have a good idea and we watched it. That's where we've been. Is this where we're going?
All the people that have gone out there against the mainstream media, all the people that have gone out there against the mainstream media and said, you're going to call us racist, you're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs, fuck you.
War. So is it war? Will it be war? That's one of the primary questions that a lot of people are discussing, that's on their lips right now. Folks, I'm BZ. It's 9/11, the year of our Lord 2025, 24 years after 9/11. Rick Robinson just sent this to me, and I'm going to play it. Listen in, 15 seconds. Charlie Kirk coming home.
409, runway 26, good line. Clear line 26, Southwest 56 south. Welcome home, Charlie. You didn't deserve it. May God bless your family.
And he's home. It's been a bad week. God, I told Rick, if you send me that, I'm going to get allergies. Guess what? The other thing that was bad for me is that today, this gentleman passed away. That is Dr. Jeff Meldrum. And he's a renowned anthropologist. And I went to go see him in April. That's myself with him in April of this year. He passed away at the age of 67 due to brain cancer. It's been a bad week. One of the other things that I want to mention up front, since it is, after all, 9/11, and I also want to let people know that so many people, not myself included, not until tonight, have spoken already about Charlie Kirk. And as I mentioned on somebody else's show, this is the first time I've had the capability to do something for my show. It's a situation where I didn't appreciate Charlie Kirk and what he had been doing until he was gone, until he passed. And part of the reason for doing these shows is for no other reason than to archive these times. And so what I'm going to do is go through a lot of videos and a lot of information and a lot of exposition about how I am feeling right now. But I feel that I have to honor 9/11 right now and then make what I consider to be a critical analogy between the two. Because one of the oddest things of all on this 24th anniversary of 9/11 is that had we listened, there were emergency flares and bells and klaxons warning us of that developing day 24 years ago. But in our arrogance and our ignorance, we chose intentionally to ignore many of those warnings. And then we squabbled about it because Lord knows that's exactly what we needed at that point. But with regard to Charlie Kirk, we likewise observed, just as I played, any amount of warning signs and actions and violence. And we decided ourselves that we considered it to be harsh and judgmental to make assumptions that Democrats and leftists didn't have the best intentions for us. And then Charlie Kirk was politically assassinated by a terrorist that is not yet in custody, to my knowledge. And I'm watching TV right up there, just in case something happens. In both events, and this is the linkulus to 9/11 and to Charlie Kirk, in both events, we were not paying attention. And in both events, we displayed, in my opinion, a clear failure of imagination. Let me go so far as to posit this, and I'm going to come back. I see there are a lot of comments in chat already. Let me go so far as to say Charlie Kirk was 31. To be president, you need to be 36. Give him 5 more years. It's not impossible that guy could have been with the chops that he displayed. And I'll be talking about that tonight. Let me go into the chat room. Mission Ready Men is here. Mike Pasqua is here. UBG, Unpleasant Blind Guy, is here. Rick Robinson is here. Jersey Joe is here. Unleashed Jeremy Hansen, present. Ordy Packard here. Cosmic Bard, proving, of course, that as the lost wanderer, not all who wander are lost. And welcome also to Sean Lewis of SHR. Thanks for coming and showing up in the chat room. Also, let me put this up here. Here's Rick Robinson, and he is present. Just a fair warning to you, Rick. I'm going to do a little exposition myself. And then
I've been talking for like 12 hours in the last 2 days. You take all the time. It's your show. Take all the time you want.
And you apparently got as much sleep as I did last night, which was pretty much none. Yeah, at this point. So yeah, I'm going to go with a little exposition first. Let me start with the truth. And the existential question, I think, is this. And a lot of this has come from, I Bigfooted Rick's show and a couple of other people's shows, but I ask this. How do we hold a civil society when Democrats and leftists say they just want a conversation, then they try to censor you, then they try to cancel you or kill you for doing exactly what it is that they asked for? So what's finally been shown to us, what we suspected, but we kind of didn't want to admit, though it was directly in front of our faces, is that there truly is no communicating in any actual meaningful sense or manner with the insane. And who was the young lady that was on your show just before you got here?
Her name's Jen Homestead.
And apparently she had a relationship of being a friend of Charlie Kirk's for quite some time, and she had about a 1 or 2 sentence expletive filled summary, which was beautiful, of what happened. And my response to that is, you can't talk to the insane. These evil fucks are insane. So let me be clear and make my definitions and my terms clear up front. They are Democrats and leftists and globalists and socialists and communists and anarchists and progressives, people on the left, people in blue cities, people in blue states. I don't think I can be any more clear than that. I don't believe this was any sort of lone wolf martyr. There will be, I don't think at this point, any suicide by cop, perhaps by self. That remains to be seen. This individual committed the act whose entire point was to do this, kill Charlie Kirk, and completely plotted as it was, and escape. Now, some of the things that we're discovering after I was looking at the video is maybe the perfect crime, maybe the most perfect idiot leaving breadcrumbs behind, but you can see that the intent was to escape and not to get shot on a roof as someone else. So it appears to me that escape was a very highly important part of this equation and of the planning. And planning to escape indicates for me a clarity of thinking by those with intelligent intent and forethought. And I mention forethought because malice aforethought is something that I'm familiar with, which is essentially, in the state of California, always spell it with a K. That is a critical definition of murder, by the way, containing malice aforethought, which tends to convince me that there is a bit of professionalism with this guy. It is a terrorist assassination. The FBI has said, if you believe this to this point, that it was a bolt-action rifle, which is typically utilized by shooters who are intent on fairly serious accuracy with a round. One of the things I want to put up right now is an indicator that this is where apparently the shooter was. Another roof shooter shooting up to down. And if you look, I can't indicate right here, but if you follow the red path about 200 yards, 600 feet from the top of that graveled roof, you can see you're shooting down into a bit of a pit in this campus. And then right where it indicates Charlie Kirk UVU courtyard, there was a tent which was over him. And the shooter waited until he was relatively still and then shot. So the timeline looks something like this. They think that 11:52 yesterday, the guy arrives, goes to the roof. That prove me wrong table is scheduled to begin at 12. And then at 12:20, the shot. And then at 2:40 p.m. Mountain Time, Trump gets on Truth Social and indicates that Charlie Kirk has been assassinated. Past political shooters or mass shooters have typically used a semi-automatic rifle because they are in vogue, if you will. They're available, they're common. Bolt-action rifles, again, if this is true and if you can believe the FBI, they don't fit the bolt-action rifle, doesn't fit the spray and pray philosophy of most shooters. And the other thing, because, like you and I were taught back in our academies, to indicate a crime having been committed, you need means, opportunity, and you need motive. So the question, one of the big questions at this point is, okay, motive. What's the motive? So who is responsible? Who are they personally? What's their orientation, their politics? To kill anybody, only to kill a conservative, any conservative, or specifically to kill Charlie Kirk because it was convenient that day and the plan went in that direction? So if so, why? Why Charlie Kirk? Why that day? Why that time? Why that place? And to me, these are all incredibly valid questions which need to be answered. Will we get the answer? I don't know. At this point, who knows? I just saw some audio, and I've been talking all day, except to somebody else, of the apparent shooter falling or jumping or dropping down, I should say, from a roof down below. So these are different days. These are different times, and I have to realize that myself. In terms of, people said the first 48. Well, if you don't necessarily get things solved in the first 48, when things were a little bit more simple in my time, and you didn't have all the digital accoutrement with which you could consult now, essentially what you can do, and why I believe things are taking a little bit longer to solve, is you find all the cams, all the video, all the input, all the phones, from every angle, from the point of the assassination, and then you work backwards. And I think that's what they've been doing right now, is trying to reassemble that, not going forward, but backwards. And that's how homicides are solved in any event. You know, and I've said, kind of kiddingly at first, I said, okay, well, you know, we need to get rid of bipartisanship and compromise. I am no longer conciliatory. Lines have been drawn, and we didn't draw them. And as I mentioned, I think on your show, there's a guy that I had on my show back in 2017, or actually it was back at Freedom Fest in 2016. And the guy's name was Ralph Benko. And he said at the time, and I had him on because he was president of the Alinsky Institute, Saul Alinsky, the author of Rules for Radicals. And I will never forget what this guy, Ralph Benko, told me as the president of the Alinsky Institute. He says, I don't understand it. Why haven't you guys, meaning conservatives, used Alinsky's book, Rules for Radicals? It's right there. It's in black and white, and it can be used by anybody for any reason at any time. Why haven't you guys? And I never thought about that until these days now. But I believe we are near a tipping point, a predicating point, which is out there. It exists. I don't know, you could call it maybe a point of no return. It exists in some form. It waits. Will it occur? I think it's likely, but definitely completely unknown. Who knows? In what form? Oh, definitely unknown. My personal line is already drawn. And I have to admit, maybe the passage of time has allowed me to be a little bit more circumspect right now than I have, because when I woke up this morning and I was listening to Rick, I was right along with him. We were both operating on zero sleep, and we were both operating on pretty raw, naked nerves and emotions. And I've had a sufficient amount of time to back up a little bit and just try to take a breath as much as I possibly can. You know, my personal line was drawn, and it exists today. And it has been even more affirmed today. I have determined, like a lot of people, that I have and will not associate with people on the left. And I don't care who they are anymore. I'm done. My BSTL, which is my bullshit tolerance level, has, like John Cleese in Silverado, today my jurisdiction ends here. And my tolerance ends here. So, you know, Democrats, associates, sympathizers, anybody remotely aligned with, for example, one of my brothers. He is dead to me. Oh, horrible BZ. You've let it affect your personal life. Fuck it, fuck them, and fuck him. Yes, I have, and I'm proud of it, and I'm not sorry in the slightest. My grandparents are gone. My parents are gone. There isn't that much left. I have one brother left in Sacramento, and I sure as shit am not going back to California. Always spell it with a K. So this is the way it is, and I'm okay with that, because I believe that leftism is truly, it is a disease. It is an infection. It is a cancer. And one must not invite it into your house or your brain or your life. Let me pause here for just a moment, because here is Sean, who has just jumped in. Let me stop my banner here.
Good evening,
and welcome to Sean. Thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Anyway, I'm just weighing in on a lot of stuff. I'm going to continue kind of flapping my yards for a moment. I don't know if you heard, if you were kind of waiting in the wings and heard the announcement by the controller welcoming Charlie Kirk back to Phoenix.
Yeah, I did see the video. I don't think that was necessarily the controller. I think that was another pilot.
Oh, okay. I was thinking a ground controller, but yeah, it certainly could be a pilot.
It was a different voice. When you hear him seconds earlier telling a Southwest airline he was clear to land, and then that other mic was much stronger and much more clear, and it said, well, and it could have been somebody else on frequency with a better radio. You know how radios work.
Yeah.
And much to everyone's chagrin, airplane radios are still amongst the worst. They don't work as well as people think they do. So,
well, and especially when they step on each other.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm going to be tonight is I'm going to be really blunt. And I think my other two brothers right here are going to be equally blunt as well. I will attempt, I don't know why, I will attempt to parse a few words here and there, but it's because at this point I've had some time to kind of think things through, not just in the past 24 hours, but in the past decades. And certainly since I created the show, I was allowed to create the show on the SHR Media Network back in 2017. And the truth is brutal, and I'm going to be brutal with the truth about Charlie Kirk. He was hated, he was despised, and he was assassinated for the following reasons. He's male, he's young. The young should never have that philosophy. He's white, he's Christian, he values God, he values family, he values marriage, he values children and procreation. He's married to a woman who has borne him 2 children. He speaks the truth to those who oppose him. He possesses, and the evidence has been there for years, one of the quickest minds on the planet. He can think on his feet like few other people can. The guy has almost a little bit of a Rick Robinson eidetic type memory. He's hugely intelligent.
His is better than mine.
Did you just say that out loud?
I did, because Rick and I have spoken about this in the past. I really don't have much of a memory anymore. Rick does. Charlie Kirk knows his history. He knows his facts. And those in and of themselves are facts. They're not suppositions.
Can I add 2 points to that?
Add 2 subjects.
And they both kind of go hand in hand, but he reached the youth 25, 27 and under, which the left has had a stronghold on for years. And he went into places where conservative voices were not traditionally welcome to be free.
Correct.
And he had conversations that made people uncomfortable, but he was never rude nor evil. He just forced it. And I was just talking to a 19-year-old college student about this, and why I was late, because this conversation was important to me. And the impact that this is having in that age group is unbelievable. Sacramento State, one of the liberal bastions of education in California is having a candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk. It's going to have the whole point of the assassination, I believe, until proven otherwise. But I don't have to get out my testers to tell you there's electricity when the light's on, right? So based on the information I have, or we have, it's pretty good. He scared them because they were losing grip on what they used to have control of. And I'm not saying it's part of a bigger conspiracy theory. I'm saying that it is an overall effect that caused this, and we can get into that later. I think there was a sleeper effect. I think that when you've told people for years that they're victimized and their lives are going to be ended if this person's elected, or if this is said, or whatever, and words is violence, which means you can justify any violence when somebody's speaking, all of that stuff. But
well, that's just it. They wanted it both ways. Words are violence, but silence was violence too. Pick a lane.
Yeah, it cannot be both of those things at once.
Understand the groundwork for words as violence. That justifies using violence against words in their sick minds. Right?
Well, as you pointed out, what he did is he purposely chose to go to college campi in order to challenge those leftist propagandists, that orthodoxy of today's universities, and potentially open up the brain boxes of a couple of students, like one student at a time, who may occasionally have that light bulb go bing over their heads. And the people had to understand that the people who disagreed with him, he invited them to the front, to the very front. Those are the people that he wanted to hear from first. It's and that was the point.
BZ, the other thing that he did is even people he disagreed with, he treated with dignity. But to see the effect, and look, we're a bunch of old bastards just talking right on the air.
Hey, I resemble that.
You do.
Yeah, I certainly do.
I invite everybody, even if you don't like TikTok, even if you don't like whatever social media app, go to all of them and start looking at what the youth are putting out today. You have people who are more traditional Democrats, even as youths, and they still are, say, I'm done with Democrats. I will never vote for them again. This is because of them. You have conservative youth weeping because he made them feel recognized. You mentioned this early in your monologue. You look at what Trump did during his first campaign and how he touched people and he made people feel seen for what they were suffering through and fighting through, right? That's what made him popular. He could connect to the average person. Charlie Kirk was doing that with people on campus, 25 and younger. That whole generation, they were the ones. Charlie Kirk, this last time, I could make an argument, was the whole reason that Trump crossed the line when it came to the Electoral College, because of the amount of youth that he was able to connect with and the amount of youth that he was able to reach and the amount of youth that maybe had those conservative values but were afraid because of the university or the family they were with or whatever. And he made it okay for them to come out and say it. And he made it okay for them to vote it.
One of the things that you said, I completely concur with. The big difference is when he did that, he didn't demean people. And it's all over the videos. I was listening to the show with Rick and the other lady who's, again, I'm sorry, that name escapes me, but
her name's Jen. It's fine.
But they were speaking back and forth about, his demeanor. What was he like? What does he do? He did this cheerfully. He did it with humor. He did it with humility. He backed it with his Christian beliefs and his knowledge of not only how the world really works, but actual facts. Okay. And the facts are these: Charlie Kirk never shouted anybody down. I never saw that. He wasn't afraid to take questions from people who disagreed with him. He wanted them front and center. He preferred to speak to those people. He hated censorship. He embraced the means and the manner of the debate itself. That's what he went for on all the college campuses.
He also did a couple of other amazing things. You watched a lot of people that were there to truly debate him, not the people that just showed up and screamed him down, but the liberals, Democrats who were truly there to debate him. And you watch how many in his videos thanked him for being there and thanked him for the opportunity to speak to them and was respectful to him because I think they understood he was respectful and kind. The trade-off to that, again, you go watch all the people who had more of the traditional debate settings. You know how they've done that a bunch of times. They take 3 conservatives, they take 3 liberals, they put them on stage somewhere and let them debate. You watch not only the conservatives who were on his side, but the amount of liberals that were on stage with him that formed a friendship. You know, they travel, they spend a lot of time together, and they talked about who he was as a person outside of his politics, which we can all disagree on politics, but who he was as a person and what a wonderful person he was, and how he treated them he was just aces. And I have yet to see anybody who can have a personal relationship with him who has anything negative to say.
I have not heard one.
No, and I don't think you will. You're going to have probably 1 or 2 wingnuts that are come out and say things like, oh, you know, like the ones who saying, well, he made the whole speech about, you know, you shouldn't have empathy. And that's right. He did say you shouldn't have empathy. He said you should have sympathy instead, because you can only understand your feelings and you can't understand how somebody else feels. They never finished that quote.
Well, see, you're seeing this shit too. And like Earl Jackson is wont to say, and so I stole it from him. I said, you can't hate these fuckers enough. There's the New York Times original article, original header. Charlie Kirk, right-wing provocateur. What the fuck? And a close Trump ally dies at 31. Dies? What, did he fall over? Did he have a heart attack? No, he was fucking politically he was assassinated by a terrorist. So in order to clean it up, the New York Times on the right, all they did was just remove, provocateur. Well, yeah, that'll make things better.
And dies, not assassinated.
Yeah, no, not assassinated, not by a terrorist, nothing like that. You know, so I found this quote from George Orwell. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it's going to hate those who speak it. And he spoke truth, not to power, but to kids.
You know, one of the most powerful things that I think I've heard him say that's been making the rounds lately is because one of his more recent debates was about, you know, the basis of common law and the forming of our Constitution, and how,
yes,
you know, the Declaration of Independence only mentions God 4 times. He's like, did you bother to read any of the 13 original state constitutions, which mentioned God multiple times and actually had faith clauses in them? He said, not only that, but one of the reasons we have a constitutional crisis today is because we have a form of government that is divined from faith through Christianity. And we now have a people that are antithetical to those beliefs. Those 2 things cannot coexist.
No, Tim Kaine making the ridiculous statement that he made about 3 or 4 days ago. You know, and all of this turned upside down. All of our world's been turned upside down. For the past week, I've been wanting to do this show, okay, about this poor girl. And then we have that assassination happen. I was going to get all over this. You know, and in the meantime, my understanding is that there was a shooting at the same day
in Colorado.
Yeah.
In Colorado. And then there was apparently another shooting earlier today, which turned out to be kind of a strange thing, mistaken identity. It wasn't a mass shooter or anything like that. And that was at the Naval Academy. But it's
the interesting thing about the Colorado shooter, I'm glad you brought that up. In this statement that was given is that the suspect was, I believe the quote exactly, I don't have it in front of me, was radicalized by an online extremist group. And I said, well, that's a really funny way of spelling Antifa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Because, you know, if it was a conservative group, it was the NRA or whatever, they would have blasted that. They'd be on the front page of the newspaper right now, because the media is hoping for anything to pivot off of right now from what the story is. But yeah, and the media is going to, look, I knew as soon as I got the notification yesterday, I knew the media was going to do what the media does. And we're going to sit here and call them out on it because they're
guns.
Scumbags. Oh, and it's like I said, because they are now, the leftists are now using guns more and more, they're going to get away from the gun argument and they're going to get into the red flag argument. I think that's going to be their big push now is, well, yeah, I mean, clearly these people had mental health issues and we need to do something about that because, you know, the shooter in Minnesota, everyone knew there was something wrong with that guy, and his family could have done something if there were red flag. That's going to be their approach. I just mark my words now.
Okay. Well, the other issue is the tranny thing. Now, I have to admit, when I appear to be wrong, I appear to be wrong. And you and I have had a tete-a-tete in the past day or so. And I said, I believe that this guy is going to be aligned more with sort of a professional kind of thing, an assassin with terrorism. The very definition of terrorism is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against citizens, civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. I used to accuse the FBI of that because they were worthy of being accused of that.
And I could make, look, I can make an argument right now that everybody who is left of Kennedy and their political beliefs that has a microphone and political standing could have ties to terrorism, because they are encouraging, as we've talked about before, through their words, through their violent rhetoric. You just had Gavin Newsom say the other day, we're going to punch him in the fucking face.
Sure, exactly. Right? I played the 7-minute video.
They're encouraging violence and having that violence be used to make political change in this country through fear, right? You can make that argument. Look where we are right now. Look where we were after the Minnesota conversation. You look at all of this and it's all, well, we're having this conversation. People are afraid. Look, I mean, they're not doing it, but there were talks about, and I'm sure some will start to limit their appearances and heighten security, but that's the change that's already starting to be talked about from this incident. So you could argue that all of their rhetoric that has, as we saw with the Minnesota church shooting, as we saw so far with the bullets being etched with leftist ideology and trans stuff, you could have the argument that this was encouraged terrorism by anything left of Kennedy, any progressive, any lunatic. Look, traditional Democrats, okay, just you're cool, I'm fine. I know we have our disagreements, but normally that's just finances and who can have abortions. But anything left of that, when you're pushing this ideology of if you're going to be put in jail, handmaiden tale, they're going to put you in concentration camps if you don't conform. If we elect this person, then your freedoms go away. We'll never have another election again. You have to get in their face, blah, 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 blah. All of that is fear mongering that's leading to events. And those events have an outcome and a goal of changing political beliefs in this country through violence.
And welcome to Big E from Mission Ready Men. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for being here.
Is Absolutely. He new? I don't know if I know him.
I didn't know you knew him, but welcome to him anyway, despite all that.
I may have to leave now. I just discovered today that he's a Longhorns fan. I don't know if we can be in the same place.
Oh my God. Is this the point where we all do, this kind of the Ronnie James Dio thing right now?
You know what, Rick? When I found out he was a Mets fan, I had a long reckoning with that. And I eventually was able to put it aside, because they haven't really done anything since '86. So
true story.
Well, the purpose, like you said, was to chill the pushback, so to speak, to kill free speech, to keep people from having the courage to speak out uncensored by leftists in opposition to their doctrine and their propaganda. And literally, part of it, I'm sure, was to, okay, they're outdoors. You can get more people in an outdoor venue. Let's slam that door and push them inside, to which Ben Shapiro, as Rick pointed out earlier, said something similar to, fuck it and fuck that. I am doing outdoor venues, and I will continue to be doing that. And these guys and people like him, whoever him turns out to be, they're not stopping me.
He went a step further. He actually said, "I'm going to pick the bloody microphone up right from where Charlie Kirk left it."
Yeah, he was. I applauded his statements. I thought it was very strong. I do want to touch, because you brought up the suspect again. I do want to touch a little bit on the investigation. A lot of people saying, well, how come the video, and as I brought up my show last night, the amount of CSI detectives that are on social media drive me absolutely batshit crazy.
Armchair detectives.
It's amazing, isn't it?
The worst. It is the worst. They've never been involved in investigation. when they released the audio video of dispatch saying, well, how come they said this and then they detained this guy and they detained this guy? And it's like, dude, have you ever been in an incident where something big happens and you have 19 people pointing to 19 other people saying that's your suspect? Yeah, you're going to detain everybody. That doesn't mean that when everything is sussed out, and we all know even cops in a fight or flight situation can get descriptions wrong. It's just how the brain works. So when everything's sussed out, that information may not be accurate. My prediction on this and the cameras, people talking about the cameras. Look, I spent a lot of time in a casino as a security manager dealing with cameras, both long range, up close. The camera footage of him on the roof that the FBI released tonight, when you start getting close-ups on him, that's digital zoom. That's beyond the camera's natural capability, and it's using digital.
And it pixelates, and it's not clear.
And it does. So you're not going to get clarity. This isn't CSI where they enhance it, and it's the same image, just much closer.
Yeah, that shit doesn't work, except on TV.
You start to lose pixels because of the camera is not designed to be that specific, no matter how, it depends on how many megs it is. So you have that aspect of it too, which is, I know Jersey Joe was asking earlier about the gun. I think the pixels ate the gun, so to speak, when he came off the roof. I think he still had it on him. And that's why he dumped it in the trees across the street, which is where they said they found it. I also don't think he's going to be from around there. You realize this event was announced, 3 months ago?
I didn't know that. I was curious how early somebody could plan for that.
This was the first stop on his new tour. So this has been on the books for a while. So I have no doubt that somebody could have probably driven down from Seattle, Portland, California, Colorado, which is why they don't have any local matches on him, because now you need to go way out, and you know how that works. The further out you get, the longer everything takes. Cell phones, you have to start getting into warrants for cell phones, who was there, triangulation, all that other stuff. And I'll tell you, for people that don't realize, when you have to watch 10 minutes of footage on 25 cameras, and then you pick out a person who you say, oh, it could be this, and now we have to follow them backwards for an hour and a half, and now you've just killed 2.5 hours by the time you get all the footage you need to go, oh, no, that wasn't him. And then you start again. So going through that footage takes an immense amount of manpower, an immense amount of hours, even when you have that manpower. And lastly, you brought up the weapon. I don't think, and I know you and I have been going back and forth, I don't think this is going to be as romanticized, so to speak, as some people are trying to make it. I think this is
how so? How romanticized?
I think a lot of people want this to be a funded, because I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about social media in general. A funded spec ops where this guy was brought somewhere, trained up by some third party organization, and then sent out on a mission. And I don't think that was it. I
get the feeling that there's a lot more than just a stupid Daniel Crooks here. There's more to it.
I don't even think it was as advanced as Crooks per se.
Really?
Yeah, Crooks got inside a Secret Service bubble. This guy got up and
but that was a piece of shit.
I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm not arguing that. But this guy got inside, and the FBI said tonight, somebody asked about the security for the event, and he said there wasn't much, but I'll refer to you on campus, which said to me that campus security was not that heightened. So they probably, and I said, there's no way they ran this event without having a TAC team on standby nearby, extra police help, and bodies on the roof, because that would just be foolish knowing who he is. And I'm sure he gets threats all the time. And it sounds like it wasn't done.
That's why I go back to 9/11. And that 9/11, I made that contrast earlier in the show. Maybe you heard, maybe you didn't. Is this shit was a failure of imagination. And how could you possibly think that you should anticipate, doing BZ's logical extension kind of thing is you're going to now equate Butler to Charlie Kirk giving a presentation of Prove Me Wrong. And who foresaw that shit? Now we do now.
Well, I'll tell you right now, though, having been in planning operations for events not as politically charged as that, but the same size and scope as that, in the last 10 years, the fact that there was not at least one TAC team response nearby or loaded up, not one you spin up and you wait a half hour for them to show up, one that's about 2 minutes away and ready to roll. The fact that there wasn't even a drone operator in this day, non-existent. The school's going to have a lot to answer when this is all said and done.
I mean, as somebody
maybe yes, maybe no.
As somebody that used to do executive protection, there are so many holes in what was happening in this event because I mean, and granted, I did this stuff 20 years ago. So some of the technology you guys are talking about today was just really starting to become a thing. But I had access to people that I could bring in for high-end clients that had their own fucking TAC teams.
Yeah.
If I needed them. It wasn't even about having to have a PD TAC team on standby. I had access to private teams if I needed them.
We know Charlie Kirk and his organization could afford that. So then the question is, why didn't they?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, that also brings up the question. That's an excellent point, Earl. That brings up the question of, okay, in terms of security, we all, I believe, know that there were continuous threats, but what was the nature of the threats? Or did they simply think something similar to, well, we've always gotten threats. We're always going to get threats. Nothing has happened so far, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, but
the other question I have is, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't mean to keep stepping on everybody, but I'm just saying, as somebody who did this, my job as his head of security would have been to anticipate any fucking possible thing that could have gone wrong and had a contingency in place no matter what. My job was to keep him alive. Period. Full stop. That's the part of this I haven't even had the chance to talk about yet because I've been so pissed off about everything else. I don't know who the head of his security is, but that motherfucker's head needs to be on a pike because he didn't do his damn job.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, though, that does give credence to the fact that maybe there was no threat. Maybe there was no digital footprint. Maybe this person was smart enough not to put anything online. Maybe they were smart enough not to text anything to friends. I think that other people were involved. I think the investigation is going to shake that out. I specifically think that the dude with the beard on video who's celebrating right when it happens, whose fight or flight is not activated, he's not ducking for cover, and he's not questioning if more shots are coming. He turned around towards where the shot came from and was celebrating. I played that last night.
Yeah. Well, and the question I have is, we know that they do threat assessments all the time. Did they do a threat assessment and find that there was nothing out of the ordinary they needed to be concerned about?
Yeah. I mean,
well, yes, I get that. Earl, again, that's a good point. And point the right way, BZ. And Rick also.
But
it's easy for me to say a failure of imagination as contrasted to what, as Earl said, what they've customarily seen and been used to up to that point. You know, what was the indicator to make them think, oh, we need to pull the stops out for this shit right now? And the other question was, somebody said they had a lot of money. If that was Rick or Sean,
Rick,
did they have a lot of money to be able to bankroll security?
Yes.
Being unfamiliar with Turning Point's cash flow or any of that kind of stuff.
Turning Point had the money, and look,
they're worth about $250 million right now, if not more, at this point. The last time I looked, which was last year or earlier this year, they were worth $250 million.
And that's not a static number.
That's
not a static number. That's rotational.
Yeah.
And that was after the last tour series, so they'd already spent a bunch of money for that as well.
And that doesn't even count the non-liquid assets that they can use to pull capital from that they need to.
You know, and it's possible that his team, and look, we're all speculating, obviously. It's possible his team said, hey, we need more out of PD, and PD or the university came back and said, no, this is what you're going to get because this is what we have, or we don't assess it the same way. And at the end of the day, yes, executive protection, his personal team carries a lot of weight, but when you're on a university campus, that campus makes all the calls. And
I guess that would be true. I never really did anything at a campus, so I can't
so
speak
bizarre.
with clarity.
it's working with colleges and universities is very, very weird.
Well, and how far can you push security on a college campus in today's environment?
At this specific one, pretty far. They have
yes.
Even before the incident, they have an open carry policy on campus, so it's not an anti-gun campus. It's not a super liberal, over-the-top campus.
I didn't know it was open carry on campus.
Yeah, I guess it's
highly irregular, Senator.
But you're in Utah, so while Salt Lake City and Ogden have a huge liberal population, the rest of the state is fairly conservative.
I don't know why I thought it was Colorado. Well, I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you how I found all of this stuff. I was going through X, and the first thing I saw was this. Okay, massive police presence. It was a school, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this was Colorado. This is weird. This is going to go weird. And then these came up, and I mean, like seconds afterwards, this came up, and I'm going to play this because people need to see it. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it at least once.
I'm going to look away. I don't want to watch it.
Counting gang violence. Great. Counting gang violence. Great.
I first saw that, and I have to tell you, for a second, I thought that was a setup. I couldn't believe
a lot of people did.
Yeah,
I saw that live. Well, as live as it was a minute or two later. My first initial thought was, okay, this is so weird and so corrupt. Who would put him up to this or suggest this?
Oh, I thought it was AI.
Yes.
So
exactly.
It was sent to me with no description. Of course. It was sent to me with no description. And as soon as it started, I was looking for telltale signs of AI in the background, like a wall moving weird or like six heads or something.
Some pixelating or some weird stuff like that.
So I didn't really take it all in initially. And then I as I started to like really focus on him, I'm like, wait a minute. It had that kind of unrealistic amount of blood so quickly that I had to play it back. And then when I actually started to watch it, I was like, oh no, that's real. And unfortunately, I don't think he made it past that moment.
No, he didn't. What a lot of people haven't seen that I have seen during a lot of homicide classes was no one remembers Bud Dwyer.
Oh, I do.
Do you remember Bud Dwyer, the guy who was a politician and he got caught? He was gonna get sent up the river for some kind of fraud. He holds a press conference. He hands some letters out to a couple of people who may have been his friends in the audience. Cameras set up right there. It's live. He has a manila bag. He pulls out a Smith 357, puts it under his chin, and pulls the trigger in front of everyone.
I remember that. I was in my kitchen when I was a kid. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that like it was yesterday.
And once my brain frazzed, I have to tell you, when I saw that. But when I started to gather, I first thought, fuck, that's just like Bud Dwyer.
Yeah. And I mean, the amount of conscious shock, and we've all seen horrific things up close and personal, way past the amount that we've wanted to see in life, and even that one got me. And it wasn't. I wasn't even like, oh my goodness, Charlie Kirk, in that exact first moment that I saw it.
No.
Obviously, after the fact, you start to really understand what just happened, but I was more shocked at and I said right away, it has to be a heavy round. It had to be a heavy round to do that much damage. The way he seized, he never tried to do the defensive grab, nothing like that. Even Kennedy grabbed for his throat the first shot, right? None of that happened. And that's, I mean, I knew the amount of damage was beyond survivable and unbelievably traumatic.
Yeah, it looked when I saw it,
there was no coming back. I mean, that was it. You could put him in an ER, an operating chamber, on a table at that second, and you would not bring him back. Now, Cheetah says, with Charlie, where local law enforcement told them to not even do the event because they couldn't secure it. Now, I wasn't aware of that. Had someone, to your knowledge, anybody here, had anybody said to him that, hey, we can't secure it like we should, you shouldn't be here? I had heard nothing about that.
I hadn't heard that at all.
No, I hadn't either.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, I mean, anything's possible. But I hadn't heard that. I do want to talk, because we're just talking about the incident. The rifle choice, and I heard what you said earlier, BZ, like the common practice is to go out and get an AR. And my only thought was, if this screwball maybe he grew up shooting that rifle with dad in the backyard of grandpa, and that's the only thing he had access to.
But see, that's the first thing that I thought, is because when we had sniper teams, I went out for SWAT. I didn't make it. I wasn't cool enough for the Zippy boys, but we had to do, we had Remington 700s and a couple of them with unilateral scopes.
Many of them still use it the same today.
You know, and my thought was, okay, you got a bolt action that tells me that whoever the hell this is more serious than someone that goes and plucks an AR off of your around the corner store for guns. The other thing I want to bring up, by the way, Mike asked in chat, are you going to take a break? And for right now, I'm not doing any music. I'm not doing any breaks. I'm not doing any promos. If you need to go to the electric winkle chamber, then do it now, because this is basically all talk.
Be like this get a bottle.
Yeah, there you go. Do what I used to do on a stakeout in a milk jug.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that dates me. Milk jugs. Jesus. Oh God. Okay. I pulled this up from, I think you put this in the SHR chat, Sean. Probably. I think. And okay, let me throw a theoretical out there in consideration of the tranny bullshit that we've seen in the past, and the school shooter, the Catholic school shooter, and the one that's in Louisville. This guy engraved transgender, anti-fascist ideological markings inside the rifle that authorities had. The older model 30 caliber, probably 30-06 hunting rifle, was discovered in the woods. What do we do? What do people do if it's discovered that, oh yeah, this is in fact another fucking tranny shooting?
Well, first and foremost, let's talk about the weapon, because everyone's been, it was originally identified as a Mauser, which I think the Mauser 98 or the 18 are the two most common. I did an AI comparison and it could not verify it. But it did say it was most likely a 30-06 just based on the dimensions that it could pull from. Yeah, no, I don't think that was the Mauser. If you look at the Mauser 18 or the Mauser 98, which are their more modern versions, because Mauser still makes firearms, I wonder if it wasn't, somebody said it's like the old Mauser and they meant bolt action. Because the more I look at it, the more I think it could be a Winchester 700, honestly, which the 30-aught would work with, would fit that. The scope on it, looked like a standard Bushnell, but the setup on it, and I forget the name of the former Delta sniper who's on X who was talking about this last night. And he said the settings I can see, where the rings are in comparison to where the glass is, how the optic was set up so far forward in the rings or back in the rings. I can't remember which one it was. He said that was not somebody who was a professional. He's like, there's no way that if you're going to take a professional hit and that's like a do or die situation and you're being paid to do that, you're not going to go in with that janky of a setup. He essentially said that the glass alone was a huge tell that it was not a professional who is doing it.
Okay, I had not heard anything in that great amount of detail. So
Yeah,
they gave indicators as to what kind of a scope this guy had.
Well, if you look at the picture from the rifle, hold on, let me see if I can pull it.
Yeah, if you have that, I would be interested in seeing it. In the meantime,
the place.
Rick sent me this from PJ Media. Charlie Kirk's murder. Stop calling evil the left.
There's not much to it. It's actually there's not much to it. It's actually just a short video. But I just thought that the title was enough to kind of prove your point, because you've been saying all night this is good versus evil, and what he's basically saying is the left is evil. Stop calling them the left and just start calling them evil.
Well, I
not wrong.
I can't disagree with that. You know, fundamentally, we get down to something like that. You know, it's like, Rick made a point earlier on his show today when I dropped into chat, and so you have to wonder, like Rick Robinson posited, I think it was last night and this morning too. Do we deserve to continue on this planet as the people that we are right now? And I wish I knew, and I do not for a fact. You know, and for those who are praying for Democrats and people on the left, and I clearly acknowledged in chat today on Earl's show, to pray for them, you are an infinitely better man than I will. I admit Charlie Kirk is such the superior man to me that, as I discussed earlier, why am I still here? That's one of the things that I was wondering last night that wouldn't let me go to sleep. How does a good man like Charlie Kirk at 31 get sniped in the neck and I'm still here? I had a hell of a time trying to reconcile that. Well, is it because there's a plan for me? Well, I'd like to know. How does that happen? I'm still, Earl, Rick, Sean, today I am still trying to reconcile that in my braininess, and I have no conclusions. I don't get it.
I mean, you could apply that question. I mean, I could apply that question to so many places in life as to why I've been fortunate in many situations, and other people who I think are more deserving haven't been. I could bring that back to my father. I could bring that back to my son. I could bring that back to so many other things. But thank you. Jersey Joe just put it in the chat. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you, Joe. And I think it does bring up the statement, ours is to not question why. It's, if you believe in a higher power, there's a grander plan, right? And if you don't believe in a higher power, that doesn't mean that karma doesn't kick people in the ass and it doesn't save other people. And then sometimes you just don't have the answers, and maybe we're not meant to understand the answers. Maybe our feeble little brains cannot figure it out. And as smart as we think we are, and as awesome as we think we are, and all of these things that we convince ourselves because, we watch CSI and we know how to solve crimes all the time, and we're the best fighter jet pilots whenever something goes wrong with the plane, and blah, 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 blah. The simple fact of the matter is,
hey, I've watched Iron Eagle like 15 times, bro. Don't.
No, listen, if you're not an F-16 expert by now, I don't know who is.
Yeah, I've watched Top Gun and Maverick, where he flew an F-14 in both of them, pal. I got you beat.
Damn.
Actually,
did you have a backseat, or did you have your own Rio?
Hold on. I also, oh God, you had to say that, and I had the movie in my head. What was the other one with Kirk Douglas where they go back in time, World War II?
Somewhere in Time.
Was it?
No, not somewhere in time.
No.
Shit.
No. The Philadelphia is experiment. No. I can't think of it.
Oh,
I can't think of it either.
It's such a great movie that people forget
The
exists.
Manhattan Project, was that it?
No, that was not that.
No, that didn't.
In the private chat, I threw a link for you. But you know, I there are times that I just think our feeble brains just can't wrap around what happened and for whatever reason. You know, but there's a million times I've asked myself in my life, how did I get this lucky?
Well, we've seen stuff like this. Oh, I'm sorry, Earl. Go ahead. Let me take this down.
Well, I was going to say, from my perspective, being a Christian who does believe in God,
and I do, but I'm conflicted.
Well, and it's not an easy thing to deal with, and it's something that I struggle with early on as well. And the fact is, bad things happen to good people. It just is the way it is. It's the nature of the world that we live in. And I also believe that we are made in the image of God, and we have he has a plan for us that we can either choose to pursue or not. And I believe that Charlie Kirk was pursuing it. I believe that he was, it's obvious he was a Bible believing Christian and was pursuing what God had for him. And I am of the opinion, and I could be wrong, but I am of the opinion that he had done everything that God had for him to do on this earth. And now it is up to the rest of us who have been following him and who have been either not aggressive enough or just completely silent to step up and take the reins of that. And he is now in heaven with God and having a great time watching the rest of us carry on his legacy.
Okay, let me put this up right now. Sean sent me that in a private chat talking about the gun. Gun recovered in Charlie Kirk assassination revealed an ammo bore pro-trans, anti-fascist messages now say, this thus endeth the discussion at this point. So what do? I get chicks with bras underneath a gun. What the hell?
Yeah.
What is going on here? But okay, worry no more. There's the gun. Bolt action, 30-06 Mauser rifle. Now, this apparently is a photo of the gun that was recovered near the scene. Okay. I'm not sufficiently facile because I've been out of the gun world ever since I left as range master for probably 15 years, 20 years. There was a time when I could tell you exactly what the hell that was and exactly what kind of a scope that was, but I've been gone from the game and I can't tell you. I don't know if that's a good scope. I can't tell you if that's a halfway decent scope or a crappy scope.
Bushnell.
I just don't know. But okay, good. Thanks, Sean. There's the gun. Worry no more. Don't look at the chicks with the bras. And here's the guy. Now,
you're not the boss of me. I can look where I want.
Okay. All right.
And
it's gone. Okay. See, just by saying that, you made it go away.
Yeah. No, Rick can look where he wants, and it's in two directions at the same time.
Yeah. Jesus fucking Christ.
I have a particular set of skills.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Earl. Jesus. Thanks, Sean. Good. Okay, there you go. That's appropriate. Cover thy face with thy hat. Holy moly. But this guy now, we're seeing video because they're working from the scene backwards in the video.
Mm-hmm.
And we're discovering that this guy is, a person of interest because we're not going to know everything yet, as a matter of fact. So then the nature of the gun and the engraving would indicate that this is nothing more than a massive leftist sympathizer. Then, and then if you look, I can't embiggen this anymore. Can I? No, I can't. Sorry, but I saw on one of the programs earlier today. This right here is a flag and an eagle, and gosh, wouldn't that be the perfect shirt to insinuate yourself into a Charlie Kirk get together? And the answer
Absolutely.
is yes. Of course it
pretty
would.
much.
You
I
bet
mean,
it would.
What else? I mean, that's absolutely the best way to fit in.
And then there's the courtyard and whatnot. I had another overlay that I used for a moment, and here's the one that I had. 200-yard shot. I'm not so sure that it's from the blue roof. I'm thinking it was more from the gravel roof.
It was from the gravel. They showed a picture with evidence markers of his shooting position that so many people kept calling a nest, and I'm like, that is not a nest. It's just a shooting position.
It's a flat roof. Okay.
He didn't have a build. He wasn't hiding. He didn't have a whole bunch of material set up. It's just a shooting position.
But still, not a bad shot because you're shooting from elevation down into a pit, and the overhang is the tent, the prove me wrong tent under which he sat. So I don't think it's the easy chip shot that everyone thinks it was, especially if you're doing it with I don't know much about Mauser, nor can I tell you anything about the inherent reliability or quality of that particular rifle.
I think a hunter who has moderate experience can make that shot. I don't think it's that difficult. People calling him a sniper, that's a bit much. But
well, the other thing that I think Rick or Sean sent me was this. They released the picture of the rifle. Let me embiggen that. That's a little bit better, but not exactly quite. Apparently some kind of a polymer or plastic type stock, etc. Let me see if I can go to the next photograph of the guy. Well,
and that's
can't get much clearer.
This is one of the things I posted about earlier. That's an AI
that's
enhancement
AI.
of the original.
Okay.
Look at the shirt. It's different than the one the FBI
It
released.
is. Wait a minute. For the first and probably only time tonight, that's not the logo that I saw earlier on that shirt. So yes, you have to be.
The suspect in the FBI photo appears to have some sort of mark or cut on the left side of his cheek. And I couldn't tell if it was a scar or what, but it's a reddening that's right up or just under his orbital bone.
Okay.
I sent you another link, BZ, from X that'll show you. This is a photo taken from the shooting position. You can see the evidence markers. You can see his indentations.
Look, there's the answer to the movie right there.
The final countdown. Jack got it, but Rick got it too.
Okay, let me see if I can go pull this out and copy this. Okay, I'm going to display very shortly, which is the only way I can do it because I'm only 5'9", and I've probably shrunk at least an inch since then. At my decrepit age. All right, let me put this.
5'9", so you're not short, damn it.
Okay.
Because if you're short, I'm short, and I don't want to be short.
I'm not overweight. I'm just under tall. Come on. And here's, let me see if I can make this bigger as well. The sniper's point of view. And so apparently I'm to believe that the red objects down here are possibly flags, evidence flags for something that they found here.
Indentations. I'm guessing probably knees, elbows. If you look, there's 5 of them. It looks like knees.
Yeah. And then there's something up here, and then whatever the hell that happens to be.
That's probably a marker. It might be an ID marker for the entire scene.
Okay. God, fuck it. Sean, okay, I'm taking some of my stuff back. Jesus, mister, you're a hard man to crack. You're a hard nut to crack, damn it.
It's almost like I used to be really good at what I used to do.
So
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
Given this view with a scope and a bolt that locks very nicely on a 30-06 round from this distance, okay, I can see what you mean. So,
I mean, honestly, guys, that's kind of, I mean, as somebody that, has firearms training and has taught my children how to deer hunt, that's a chip shot. I'm sorry.
I just don't even think it's a full 200. I think that's closer to 150.
So I have to concur.
Based on that picture, I would agree with that.
This is A, a view I'd never seen, and B, this is a wonderful view. Fuck me using the word wonderful with
no.
But
For evidence,
it's a great illustrative example of what was seen, and now to me the clouds are beginning to part in terms of, okay, now I'm beginning to see. Now let's look at this, and there are various
there's all those blueprints and stuff that Sean was talking about a second ago. Maybe he was good at his job one time.
There's a tag.
I was good one time. The rest of it I was terrible at, but one time I did it okay.
Okay, Toby Keith.
But again, this is a great shot. That was a great series of a couple of shots where we get to see basically what the ERTs were saying.
And I'm going to explain something really quick to people who may not understand and people that aren't of this show. BZ is a photographer, or was a photographer back in the day. So when he's saying the word shot, he's talking about the photography shot, the photo itself.
Well, yeah, I was
the skill of the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk. I just want that before somebody cuts it up and edits it and says something stupid. I just want
bastard, stop doing that to me.
That doesn't happen on the internet.
No, God, no.
Never. No. As I hastily edit. Never mind.
Let me put this up because I think this was an indicator of where Charlie had been going and where we had been going for quite some time. This was from Charlie Kirk himself, April 7th, not far ago. The assassination culture is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same about Donald Trump. In California, activists are naming ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. The left is being whipped into a violent frenzy. Any setback, whether losing an election or a discussion or a debate or losing a court case, justifies a maximally violent response, prescient, but in the exact wrong way. This is the natural outgrowth of left-wing.
I talked about that on my show. I didn't talk about the Mangione thing, but I remember that survey coming out, and I talked about that on my show. And that's, prescient in the exact wrong way.
Yeah.
This goes back to the same questions that I've been asking now for the last few days. One, are we even worth saving anymore? And two, if we determine that we are worth saving anymore, how do we coexist with people that want to murder us?
Yeah, I don't think we can.
And they're telling us that they want to murder us. 55% of these people are okay with assassinating political figures to get what they want. Last I checked, that's basically a real world textbook definition of fascism.
Well, if you want to know a website of a truly evil organization, and I don't know, Earl, maybe you can think of a better word than I can of the Southern Poverty Law Center than an evil, bullshit, left-wing, racist, sexist organization.
I think that about covers it, BZ.
They quantify Turning Point USA, and they put Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk by dint of the association. They equated him to the KKK. Well, hold on that thought, because then this is where the other people start to weigh in. Then you get people like this from Occupy Democrats who say Charlie Kirk spent his entire life disparaging immigrants, disrespecting women, blaming black folks, only to get shot in one of the whitest places on earth, comma, you disgusting pieces of shit, to make comments like that. And then, of course, there's this. But wait, you know, let's go through this. Here's the other people saying, oh, look, Trump next, do Trump next. Charlie Kirk is dead. Yay. One less misogynist piece of shit. Learn to spell, fucker. On the planet. Do Trump next. Not sorry. Trump next. Do Trump next. Charlie Kirk is dead. Trump next.
You do have to take into account, though, with a lot of these, how many of them are Russian and Chinese bots. One of the things that I've been doing with all comments like this is I go in and I start looking at when they made their account and how many followers they have. And if they're over 3 years old and they only have 25 or 100 followers, well, if you're at all active on X, you're going to naturally have more than that. So that just means you're only showing up and using that when the bot is activated. And the other thing is, if you are at all active on X, and everybody knows this, you will have more than 100 porn bots following you.
Oh, Jesus.
So I always look at those accounts, and anytime I see people arguing with a bot or somebody who has a really weird name or it just doesn't fit, like John Smith 15976, then I go in and click and I'm like, oh, your account was created in 2018. You have 34 followers and you've only posted 8 times. You are in a Chinese or Russian bot farm. You are most likely not of or in this country.
Comic artist, no, they did not. Thanks for being here and thanks for the question. Great question, but no.
So one thing I don't like about Grok being integrated with X now is I used to be able to trip up the Russian and Chinese bots because I would speak to them in what I assumed was their native language, and half the time they would slip up and respond back. And now it automatically translates. So fuck you.
I just start either asking them how I start calling them comrade. That's my favorite thing to do, or asking them how dear leader is.
Nice.
And how much they love the communism party.
They're afraid of the third.
Some of them I'll say, look, turn around to the officer in charge and tell them you did a really good job today and you picked on an American conservative, and see if you'll get a little extra food tonight.
Okay, now I understand what it was that you were saying earlier, Sean, about having met somebody that's adjacent to Sac State, my alma mater, from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But I'm just curious how endemic that is throughout the rest of the Boneyard land in terms of college campi. Do people feel that way? One thing I do want to point out, and I absolutely fervently believe this, and I want each and every one of you to weigh in. I can distinctly remember yesterday, Dana Perino during the 5. I'm going to try to paraphrase this as accurately as possible. She said, you have just gone out of your way to create 10 million more Charlie Kirks. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes. And I'll tell you right now, too, I think this is going to do what Charlie Kirk did on campus, which is cause conversations. And I think a shock to the conscience, as this was for people of that age, where they see how this has affected their peers, might actually cause a little reflection and introspection. So I do think that I think the youth, from talking to those that I know today and neighbors' kids and stuff, I think they're more affected by this than any of us understand. You understand, this is John Lennon to them. This is any, I mean, not to devalue his memory, but this is MLK to these college kids. This is the guy who was speaking to them on a national level that was making them feel welcome in a place that they weren't feeling welcome before, and making it safe for them to be conservatives and be okay with their values. And I don't think that we are grokking that. I said earlier, you know, you had JFK and the generation that remembers that. You had 9/11, which was more my age group. That was our JFK, where we're like, holy shit, the world just changed. I think for that age group, holy shit, the world just changed, because he was doing everything right by all metrics as far to how to outreach, how to communicate, how to disagree respectfully, and how to debate, and they killed him for it. And that alone is going to change their opinion for a long time. And I think people that even necessarily didn't agree with him are at least sympathetic to that. And a lot of them, like I said, I spent a lot of time on social media seeking that age group out for this context. And you will see a lot of them, even those who said they were Democrats before, are disgusted by what happened. That's that's how a generation gets changed.
Well, anecdotal evidence that supports this. One, ACB, a cosmic bard, has a son that we lovingly call EP, short for executive producer, who is in high school. 75% of his school was distraught today. Clay Travis put out on social media today that in his son's high school, his sons who hate wearing suits and ties, all of his friends, all of the boys in the school wore suits and ties today to honor Charlie Kirk. Now, whether that is something that is going to remain, we'll have to see. But I do believe one thing, and I said this earlier today. This is that generation's 9/11 moment. Every single one of us, probably for BZ, probably more Kennedy, but for those of us that are around the same age group, we all know where we were and exactly what we were doing when the first plane hit. That's this moment for them. Years from now, they're going to remember exactly where they were and what they were doing when they found out that Charlie Kirk was shot, and then eventually found out that he'd been assassinated.
Well, there's some things that I discovered about Charlie Kirk that I had no idea. And then I want to ask you guys succession planning. Number one, I've told this story before, and Rick had to explain in the show to the other people that were, for the leftists that were watching Rick Robinson, he had to explain what an autodidact was. I went in and I self-taught myself. I was the world's worst student, but I loved history. But I went on to college because I was a moron. But
swallow.
Yeah, Jesus. So I didn't know Charlie Kirk had not gone to college.
Yes.
I had no idea. And I didn't know that he was, God, what did somebody say? That he was on TV already and was politically oriented at 12?
18.
Was it 18? Okay. So then
his first appearance was on Fox and Friends 2002. He actually skipped school as a senior in high school to do the morning show.
You know,
he jokingly referred to it later as Charlie Kirk's day off.
But see, that's a wonderful thing when you have somebody that is that intelligent, which proves that education is clearly overrated, and as is the bill that's tagged with it. But then yesterday I saw, I must be honest, I was not that aware of Charlie Kirk. I knew that he was associated with, but had not necessarily created Turning Point USA. But I saw this younger kid who apparently, maybe that's where I got the 11-year-old. There's another kid who is now apparently a freshman in college whom Charlie Kirk contacted at a very young age and associated with him. And the kid's got kind of an odd name. I cannot think of it for the life of me. But after listening to this kid speak, he spoke on 2 different shows yesterday. This dude reminds me of a Charlie Kirk, whip smart, already oriented. So to each one of you, I have no idea who this kid was, but my first thought was, oh, there's a potential successor.
Breland Hollyhand, by the way.
The what?
His name is Breland Hollyhand. He was in 4th grade and Charlie Kirk did his show.
That's it. Bingo. That's the dude's name. I heard him speak and I thought, that kid is smarter at whatever the hell he is right now than I was, at 60. And I used to be able to speak pretty clearly. Oh, hey, Earl, if you're talking, I can't hear you.
I think he's a freshman in college.
Okay.
right now.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
is now.
But so in terms of successors,
what's a
who's,
success?
who's waiting in the wings? Anybody have any thoughts or ideas?
I don't.
Well, that,
Or is it
I
this
don't-
kid?
I don't think there'll be another Charlie Kirk.
No, there
not
won't be.
But I do think what'll happen is I think there will be probably a legion of people that come in behind him with little bits and pieces of what he had to just keep it going and growing. And we're already starting to see that happen.
And the other thing is, Turning Point, he built something where he has given a lot of different people platforms to carry on his legacy. And they obviously they weren't planning for it now, but he has those people out there now. Riley Gaines, John Amanchukwu, and I can't think of all the names right now, but at least 5 or 6 other people, and probably more that haven't hit the scene yet, that are going to be able to carry on this legacy. They won't be Charlie Kirk. Brandon Tatum's another one. They won't be Charlie Kirk, but they will. I think they're going to carry on the legacy until maybe someone like Braylon Halligan does step into that kind of role. But there's going to be a bunch of people. There's going to be a bunch of people to take that mantle.
I agree. There's going to be a bunch of people who are going to, and out of homage and respect to him, step into sort of that role. Obviously, as we said, I don't know if anybody could ever do it as well as Charlie Kirk did. But if
Ben Shapiro said that he's going to take his place going forward.
And
really,
yeah.
Okay.
Ben Shapiro, I think was. I mean, look, there's a lot of people who you expected to have strong feelings about this, but I think there's a lot of people who are truly changed as a result. I think Ben Shapiro, his comment today, I think showed that. Megyn Kelly's another one. I know she's older and she's not a debater per se, but just her influence. There's a lot of people out there. I don't know if anyone will ever be the next Charlie Kirk, because part of Charlie Kirk was being so good was that he was Charlie Kirk, right? It was part of his personality. He just had that way about him that was fantastic with people. But I say this, you look at all the people that Charlie Kirk was able to reach and touch, and you look at all the people who minds that he changed, and he did. You saw, like I said, go to social media, you see so many former Democrats say, I changed and saw the light, so to speak, because of Charlie Kirk. And his debates are people who he engaged with specifically. But if, let's just say 5 people emerge in the next year or two, and they're on that same path as Charlie Kirk, and maybe I'm not saying they'll be as good as Charlie Kirk, but if they reach in 2/3 of what Charlie Kirk reached, look at how that number multiplies from his legacy. And you look at how that expands.
He reached so many people on so many levels: the intellectual, the spiritual, the religious, the factual, the sexual, the race, and I think Earl or somebody mentioned this guy, Brandon Tatum.
Yes,
he sounds familiar.
Former Phoenix.
The only thing that I can remember about him is, was he a cop, and did he have a gun show or something like that? Where am I thinking of this guy from?
He was a cop. I want to say that there was some kind of something happened to that where he ended up leaving the force. I can't remember if it was a controversy or what. I don't remember, but
he was the PIO, and then he started doing videos on his own about incidents and essentially defending law enforcement, and that, from what I understand, caused a rift, and he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's been associated with TPUSA, and he was actually had an incident where he was debating someone, and they attacked him and the people he was there with on campus.
Okay. Did not know. So what you're saying, basically, because I have to admit, ignorance on this is he would be one of a couple of other people who would make a good, worthwhile successor, because apparently he's already inculcated in Turning Point.
I don't know if I'd give him the successor mantle, but he's definitely going to carry on the legacy. I don't know if he'd be. I don't know if he'd be as effective as Charlie Kirk, but he's definitely on the team for sure.
Yeah, he goes out to campuses. He does one-on-one conversations, kind of like Charlie Kirk did, but a lot of the Turning Point folks do that. That's how Turning Point did their outreach. That's how they did what they did. But you know, I like Brandon a lot. I actually think he's a super smart guy. He's really funny.
Yeah.
And he's highly intelligent. There's something about Charlie's charisma where, like I said, I don't know if there'll be a successor per se.
Yeah.
But I think you
Agreed.
are going to see a lot of young conservatives start being more vocal about who they are and challenging the narrative. Like I said, I think this is going to have the opposite effect of what the shooter hoped, which was to scare conservatives into silence. This is going to do the exact opposite.
I submit this will be one of the most galvanizing events that they could never have possibly wanted to envision in the history of fucking ever.
Yeah.
He is probably and from anything I can remember, he is the first Christian martyr in modern history. He died debating people about, like you said, BZ, politics, gender, but faith was the most important thing to him.
I'm going to wrap up the show with
doing that.
Exactly.
And,
I found a cut that people have kind of hinted at, and I'm not going to play the cut that most people play, but I found one that said that, you know, the one that everybody's playing now, where the guy sitting in the seat with the brown background, the white guy looks over at Charlie Kirk and he says, "Well, tell me how you'd like to be remembered." And that was about 15, 20. I found a really good one for the end of this show, and I will be playing it to wrap this up. And then you have pieces of crap like this.
Live by the sword, die by the sword. He did say that gun deaths were an acceptable side effect of gun rights.
Nice.
Somebody did a compilation, and she was her video in that, and I thought I had it on my timeline, but I don't see it anymore. I've had a couple of videos disappear, it seems like, which is weird. Martyrs multiply movements, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, and then let me put this up if I can.
Can I comment on her really quick?
If I can find it, please do, sir.
It just more of the gist of her and all the other ones. The live by the gun, die by the gun. They are justifying an ends to the mean, right? They're essentially saying, look, this is okay to murder because he believed in guns, right?
Yeah.
They are explaining this away as acceptable behavior because, he did it to himself. If he wasn't so pro-gun, maybe this wouldn't have happened. They are justifying their version of what makes murder okay. And that's something that cannot be forgotten. You're justifying murder. You're saying it's okay because of his beliefs aligned a certain way. And that goes back to the words, words have violence, right? Words are violence. We brought that up earlier. And it's like, no, you're just saying that because that means you don't want me to speak. And if I speak, then you can use violence against me because you're trying to say that use of force is equal to what I'm saying. It's the same thing when they explain it away by saying, live by the sword, die by the sword type of mentality. No, well,
I only have
this. Uno momento. You explained this, and then I was thinking exactly of this. Charlie Kirk, Rush Limbaugh. It's like one off. You're not going to find these guys. Sorry, Rick. Go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say, I know somebody that's listening to this later will know who this woman is. Can you do us a favor and go put a scratch and sniff sticker on the bottom of her pool and let Darwin sort it out, please?
Wow. Okay.
You just got to realize what a miserable human being she's got to be. And for me, that's enough. She's got to have so much internal hate. And look, I'm not crossing any lines. I said that in my show last night. I'll say it again here. But the amazing part is, you know, you remember back in the day when there was the whole conversation on social media as to whether or not you should be able to say things that are racial or not. And well, that's prejudice. And all of us said, well, yeah, but now you know who the assholes are. Right now, everybody knows
they've decloaked
assholes are. And with this, as I am seeing a lot on social media and personally that I've known a few people are ending relationships over people saying stuff like that. They are shutting people out. As you brought up earlier, BC, tonight in your own situation, people are ending relationships. So you already see the impact that this is having.
But see, that's not it. That's not the end of it. You know, other people are getting affected. And I think this is way, way past due in terms of on, quote, our side, unquote. We're beginning to see some actual C words, consequences like this shit stick.
Yeah. Yep. He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
So, but the question now becomes, okay, MSNBC said that they were changing their shit or they were going to relabel or recreate themselves. They're not doing it. So if this guy, yes, this guy did get flushed. I get it. But I don't see any change.
Everybody else on MSNBC, because there's 5 other people today that said things that are very much akin to that.
Like Nicole Wallace.
Yes. And what? Cuts? What's her last name? Kuntz? I'm
not sure.
You know, and this age-old monster classic that everybody has played so far, so why not me?
We're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
Okay, is that not essentially straight out of Antifa?
Oh, it 100% is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's
It
like
is saying that violence
like
is
any means necessary. Fuck it.
Yep, violence is acceptable in order to save the country. And I brought this up today, and I think I put it on social media. You know, the biggest difference between the left and conservatives, the conservatives are trying to save the country as we know it and to make it constitutional as it was designed and has made it successful through all of these years, however imperfect. The left is trying to take this country, all of its value, all of its worth, all of its history, and change it into something that it was never meant to be. Who is the good and who is the bad? You tell me.
Well, let me see if I'm going to put this up and you tell me. Let me stop it here. Is this the person that you were talking about?
Yeah, and again, I emphasize.
Katie Tur.
I was close.
Details of this, that we don't know if this was the supporter shooting their gun off in celebration.
Oh, this motherfucker.
Yeah.
But following up on what
I forgot about this one.
Okay. Let me go down here. Is
before
this
before you
her?
get into, you know, Katie Tur, you know who her father is? Her father is the guy that quote unquote transitioned and then grabbed Ben Shapiro by the neck and told him he'd leave in an ambulance. That's her dad.
No way.
Yes.
Serious.
Yes.
Holy. Okay.
A little bit of trivia there for you.
Shit. Okay, didn't see that one coming at all. Okay, well, I can't play this right now, but in any event, let's continue. I want to go to I already hit that. Damn, and I spoke about that. One thing I didn't mention, I said this at the beginning of the show. This was a bad week for me and for you and for everyone else here. And I want to mention it again because this gentleman who's the doctor of anthropology at Boise State University, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, passed away today at the age of 67 from brain cancer.
Oh,
he wasn't feeling well, and canceled apparently a conference last week. This came out of nowhere. His son came on social media, and I met this guy in Broomfield, Colorado, at the Bigfoot Investigative Group conference. And this guy he would be the Charlie Kirk of the world of anthropology and Bigfoot. This guy can think on his feet like no one's business, and give you a convincing talk in 20 minutes that would make you believe that the Gimlin, the Patterson-Gimlin film, he believes is actually 100% correct from 1967. And after listening to him speak for an hour and a half on that in great detail, you would come away convinced. So this guy was big, huge, kind, smiling, very conversant, extremely nice to me, signed whatever the hell I wanted, took as many pictures as I wanted, humble, intelligent. I can't say enough good things about him. And today he left. This week has sucked.
I actually, it's you mentioned sadly the brain cancer, and somebody that I know 2 weeks ago camping with their kid, 10 years old. Everything was fine since they came back. Nausea, sickness. Long story short, they found out this past weekend that the child had brain cancer and needs surgery. And
how old?
10.
Wow.
So it's sad. It's hard for a lot of people right now. And you know, again, we talked earlier about, you ask, why am I still here? Why do I get to, you know, and you have to believe that for whatever reason, no matter what your beliefs are, you're still here for a reason. You still have to look at the good that you do have. You know, life sucks some days. Life's hard some days. There are days that none of us want to get out of bed and deal with it, you know, but we still have good shit that happens in our life, you know, through all of my personal struggles and issues and blah, 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 blah. I still get 2 great kids. Right. And I have to look at that every day as like, that's my blessing. That's my reward, whatever you want to call it. On the days that I don't want to, I don't want to fight that day, and I don't want to get up and do all the things that I know I have to do. And I just kind of want to like throw up my hands and open a bottle of bourbon. Which happens later. Don't get me wrong.
Right. Exactly. As expected.
But I think about my kids and I'm like, okay,
here's a little blessing. Let me point this out. And then whoever was going to go next. This is great. There's a person in chat called Cy Tyson. Good afternoon. Afternoon, of course, which means that they're from New Zealand. Appreciate the streams, and I pray for your country. Keep up the good work in regards to your channel. Big respect. So kudos and acknowledgement to Cy Tyson. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you for taking the time to be here, because we recognize that, especially now, this is a late night show. Well, maybe it's a daytime show for you, so that's good. So you know, anyway, just
having to look at my face during the day.
I am always impressed by people that come from afar and by way of the internet. We make new friends.
Camera was up.
We'd like to invite you here, Cy, anytime. Watch any of the SHR stuff. Watch any of the KLRN stuff. Rick would love to have you. We would love to have you come back any and every time for any of the shows that. And well, I have to say, quite frankly, we are honored to have you here. So thank you for showing up tonight in chat. Thank you, sir. If you're a sir, thank you. We can't tell anymore. We can't see you. So we're just going to have to make the assumption. Damn it.
Hey, I know you only got like 12 minutes left. So I want to say this now because I know you have videos to play and all that stuff.
Maybe
not. Who knows? But I want to thank all 4 of you for giving me a reason to laugh tonight. And even with this really difficult 24 hours in this country. And
you have an extra voice in your head, sir? Because there's only 3, not counting you.
1, 2, 3. Oh, the chat room. I just, to be able to kind of yuck on here like we normally do and still be able to poke fun at each other and just try to have a good time and all of the difficulty and darkness that we often have to report and discuss and commentate on. So it's I just want to thank all of you, including chat. That's the fourth. It's like the 10th player award. The chat's the fourth guest. Hey, it works. Prove me wrong.
That's true.
Okay, Charlie.
Just like graveyard humor. It's like being a cop. Everybody here at one point has been a cop. People may not know that, but everyone here has been a cop at one time. And we have graveyard humor. And sometimes people think that it's incredibly inappropriate. But the humor that we see, especially when you work in homicide or wherever, child abuse, any of the other places that I've worked or any of the other people have worked, if you don't keep a sense of humor about you, then your brain will destroy you.
Yeah.
And so humor is funny because it contains elements of truth. And when we poke fun at things here, we're poking fun at the truth. But it's a coping mechanism. And when we finish up this show, we're going to all cope in our own separate ways. And we're going to get together individually and separately again at some point, and we will get through this.
You need to appreciate the shenanigans and the tomfoolery while you have it.
I first went through this, and I cannot tell you how.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
There we go. That's what I'm thinking. I have surprised myself at being as taciturn as I am. I expected myself to go unload full Conan the Barbarian on this. And yesterday I wanted to go there. I was seeing red, and I had to, the things I was thinking, the things that I said here in the house, in the studio, are not presentable for a civilized society. And I'm glad that I hedged in a way, and in a way we have all had to do this. Do I think there's a big fucking event around the corner, depending on what it is that we find out about the shooter? Yeah. Some people have said, this, whatever comes, is going to affect the kids. I agree. Now, it can affect the kids sooner or it can affect the kids later. But it's going to affect the kids, because we cannot, if there's one thing that I believe is, at least for a while, we're not going back. We've crossed the threshold. We don't know exactly, we know what the threshold looks like, but we don't know exactly what it's going to become. Whether it will become a massive shitstorm, and if it does, the people here will fight when necessary. We hope that it doesn't get to that point. But we all individually and collectively wonder, can we ever go back to the way it was? I don't think so. No. So as we wrap up, I would like each one of you, please, to summarize where we were, where we are now, and most importantly, where do you think we're going to go in the future? Earl, let's start with you, please.
I think we're going to be in a period of mourning and reflection for a little while. And I think that the legacy that Charlie Kirk started, between that and all the other things that are going on, like the murder in North Carolina and the murders of all these innocent women at the hands of illegal alien invaders. I think all of that, coupled with the left's soft on crime policies and everything that's led up to this, I think that there is going to be a reckoning. Not suggesting that it's going to be violent in any way, but I think conservatives, true conservatives, are just done playing nice. And I think that what they've done is unleash something that they're going to wish they hadn't. And then we're gonna see what. Now I want to I want to have a moment of caution, because this is similar to what happened after 9/11. Everyone said, never forget, never forget. And
we forgot.
The tagline on my show was, have we already forgotten? And I've been saying that for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just hope that those of us who can carry on the legacy, that we don't forget. And then 25 years down the road, we're not singing the same tune.
Okay. There's another person in chat, Mr. Alex. Hi, fam. Hey, don't know you. Glad to see you. Glad to see that you're here. You are welcome here any and every and all times. So, Alex, thanks for being here. Come back anytime you wish. So, let's see if I get this right. This gentleman down below here. There we look. I actually pointed the right direction. Yeah. Sean, what do you think? Where were we?
Well,
where are we? Where are we going?
I agree with a lot of what Earl said. Where were we? I think we were a country fighting for its soul and identity. Since 2008, really, this country's had that battle, and every single time one issue has seemed to settle and people have decided one way or the other, the left has dropped new issues on us, and they keep dropping new controversial things because they're out of ideas. They don't know how to run the country effectively. They have no idea how to run the country effectively. So they're going to bring up these social and emotional issues to keep everybody divided and say, hey, look, we're the common good in all this. Elect us. That's where we were. Where we are is, I think we're a country where a lot of soul searching is actually being done tonight. And I think it's going to go a lot deeper than any of us realize. And I think that it's going to affect parties well beyond what I think any of us realize. The difference is this generation, the next generation, the youth, have watched this country in turmoil. You think pre 9/11, it was just status quo for years in this country, right? For the most part, it was just, Clinton got a BJ in the office. That was the biggest thing we dealt with for the longest time, right? And then 9/11 happened. We didn't have that ongoing struggle into 9/11. These kids have had this ongoing struggle. They remember what it was like in high school to be told to sit down and shut up because you're a male and you believe in Christian faith, or all of those things, right? And that youth, or they're being told, it's not okay for you to just want to be a mother. That's not okay. You should want more than that, and that there's something wrong with you if that's all you want. So I think that you took a country that was already damaged and already fighting for its soul, and you now have an incident that, as we've talked about, this generation's 9/11, that's going to imprint and affect an already tired and angry youth that has been fighting for their soul and the country's soul for a long time. And I think that will bring a better future. I can't help but think that this horrific and subhuman act that was conducted yesterday cannot bring forth and usher in a better future as a result, because that's the man's name deserves that.
And Rick Robinson, what do you think? We're
not going back, just so everyone's we're not going back. Sorry.
Okay.
No.
All right. Rick,
no, we're not.
What's
Thanks, John.
your input?
Appreciate you Bigfoot me there, bro. Appreciate it. Just kidding. As far as where we were, I have been, talking about this for hours upon hours for the last couple of days, and it occurs to me that where we were before yesterday was watching a generation that, for the first time in American history since the Revolution, was 10 times worse off than those who came before them. And in so many different ways, their life was stripped from them. They were told they had to stay home. They were told they couldn't go to school. They couldn't have prom. All these different things that we took for granted because we had them all. They didn't. And then you had somebody like Charlie Kirk coming into the places where they were, where half of them didn't even feel comfortable because they were told, if you speak out, if you say things differently, you're going to be ostracized. He started teaching them that it was okay to do that. And one of the things that Jen pointed out with TPUSA is it wasn't like YAF. They weren't just going into colleges. They were going into high schools. And that's why you have all these kids that are in high school right now that are, in the words of Barney Stinson, suit up. Because, that was a How I Met Your Mother reference for those of you that don't watch sitcoms. But anyway, so where we were is we had a group of kids that for the first time since the revolution were worse off than their parents. That's never really happened before. Now, where we are now is we are headed towards, we've passed the Rubicon. So there's no way to come back at this point. We're past the point of no return. What's going to happen next is we're either going to hit a turning point where we're going to turn back towards where we were supposed to be, or we're going to continue hurtling towards a cliff and it's going to become a tipping point. What determines that is how well the kids do with the drive that they have right now, today, and how long they can hold on to it. Because it's their world now. All we can do is help them grow into it. They've proven it the last couple of days. It's their world now. They're the ones picking up the baton.
So let me ask you, because I'm not, are we talking Gen Z or are we talking before, after Gen Z?
I mean, well, Gen Z starts getting into Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha is still basically a bunch of kids. So we're talking about younger millennials and Gen Zs, because the older millennials, the ones that are a little bit older than Charlie Kirk, they're the ones that all think communism is the answer. And you can see them all over social media. The ones that are around Charlie Kirk's age and younger, they started figuring out that was all a bunch of bullshit. Now we've got about half of the Gen Z kids, especially, and it's mostly the Gen Z men and boys that are like, we're tired of being told that we can't exist as we are. So that's where a lot of the fight started coming from, and that's what Charlie Kirk tapped into. That's why you've got all these boys in all these high schools that are throwing suits on and saying, "Fuck it, we're not going to be quiet. We're not going to be quiet anymore." So again, where we go from here is going to be dependent on how long they hang on to the fire that was lit in them within the last 48 hours.
Well, the other question that I have also goes with this. Are they cognizant of the fact that the people, do they understand who locked them down? On which side were they oppressed, so to speak? Yeah. Because they lost not just regular memory, not just institutional memory. They lost social abilities. There was a massive loss during that time.
Psychology and education were the two biggest hits, and that's been proven over and over and over again medically. I think they do know. And I think that's partially why they started down this road that young conservatives were in 4 years ago. It was after the first Trump presidency, and it was about halfway through the Bidens that you really started to hear young conservatives, mostly Ben, but there is a lot of young female conservatives out there now that are being more vocal. And I think they know damn well what led to all of that, and I think they understand it. Look, I think they get it better than we do. I think we get it because we're older and we're more mature and we know history and we've read and blah blah. They lived it. It's like I know a lot about World War II, but I didn't live in World War II. These kids lived through that, and like Rick said, they were told. So many were told that everything was wrong with them, right? So many were told that, you have to get out of the way so this group can go forward or that group, and you can't be successful because of this or that, and you have to accept this and you have to accept that, and blah, 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 blah. You have to accept being sexualized at a young age in school by teachers who want you to understand what transgender is when you're in kindergarten, yada, yada, yada. And I think they're pissed. And I think they're more quiet than we think they are about how pissed they truly are. Like, we come on and we say it, we're fucking pissed, right? I mean, we're just a whole bunch of grumpy old men sitting around a table bitching and moaning. But these kids, they don't
listen, Walter Matthau.
They don't have the time nor the inclination, to use a quote from a great movie, to explain to people why they're pissed or how pissed they are. The college person that I spoke to tonight, 19 years old, unbelievably educated, unbelievably intelligent, conservative. She's pissed, but she's quiet about it because it's just she doesn't need to engage people to fix to make her decisions. She doesn't need to be accepted for it. She had to live through it. You know, I mean, in a way, they have their own PTSD, and they're pissed that it's not being addressed.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for being here. Sackhead Sean, Big E, Rowdy Rick. I want to play this, and I said I would before you leave. This is similar to the video that you've seen before, but it's not the same. It's not the same video. And I'm about to illustrate a massive portion of, I guess, what you would otherwise call irony for you.
Volume.
Dying from a gunshot wound. But what would you actually want to tell me if I have 30 seconds left to live?
Boy, you got 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, you're about to meet eternal judgment. And there's only one way that you can get bailed out of that. And it's not all the good things you did or the moral scorecard. It's whether or not you have Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And that's the only thing that's going to matter. And so you got 10 seconds left. You're dying from a gunshot wound. And you ask the question, who is Jesus Christ? And the answer to that singular question, who is Jesus Christ, is the most important question for everyone in the audience. Not how much money you have, not how much good stuff you do. It is, who is Jesus Christ? You might say, oh, Jesus was, a teller of good tales, or Jesus was a good person, or Jesus was a historical figure. None of that's going to cut it. It's whether or not you repent and you ask Christ to come in as your Lord and Savior. That's the only thing that will save you from eternal damnation.
And that's the show. And I wanted to make sure that I wrapped with that. So again, folks, tell us where you are. Big E, tell us about your show, please, sir.
I host the Mission Ready Men briefing on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central. It's been going about an hour and a half, although I didn't make that today. But I talk about the news of the day. I talk about issues that this country is facing. And I do it from a biblical worldview, a Christian perspective.
All right, Big E, Earl Jackson, thanks for being here. Sean Lewis, Edge of Liberty, tell us about you, please.
Every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on the SHR Media Network, and simulcast with our great friends over at KLRN. Number 2 Against Tyranny on X, and yeah, of course, it's a honor and privilege to be here with all 4 of you and to be on this network still. So thank you very much. Big E, by the way, the Just for Men I ordered for you, it should be there in a few days.
Oh, nice. Righty Rick Robinson, KLRN, go, sir.
All right, you can follow along with our work at KLRN Radio or with me at Rick73 on X. I host the Rick Robinson Show Tuesday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Friday, we do an extended edition, so it ends at 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturday nights every 2 weeks, Juxtaposition, starting at, 10 p.m. Eastern. Also, for anything else, pretty much check the schedule because I do lots of shows and lots of work. You can find that at klrnradio.com/schedule. You can also find me as a contributor at twitchy.com, misfitspolitics.com, and theloftusparty.com. And I also produce the Loftus Party podcast through my production company, and it drops on Tuesday.
Okay, well, I'm going to do this. I want everybody to focus your laser-like eyes, if you would, on this. This is a partial supposition provided to you of all the shows that you can find on KLRN. For the next 2 seconds, memorize that. 1, 2. Okay, it's gone. Sorry.
That was a 1.5.
Was it? Oh, damn. Okay, hang on just 1 second. Here comes another half second. Okay, now they got it. Okay, so everybody, thanks for being here, and to all a good night, gentlemen. Appreciate your presence, and have a great weekend as best we can. God bless you. Take care. Be safe.
God bless.
Have a great night, guys.